So first, let me say welcome to LumaFusion Masterclass session number 1. In this video, I will explain exactly how we create a basic cinematic timeline and project in LumaFusion, allowing you to add some cinematic bars to the video without creating some additional cinematic bars using titles in LumaFusion. In this session, I will also cover some basic color grading that you can apply to your LumaFusion video, and also how you can save those as a preset. This video is all about basic editing in LumaFusion, and it's a line of a lot of videos that we will make in the future. So now that you got a brief of what we're going to create in this session today, I think it's time to just jump over to the iPad and create our first project in LumaFusion. So first I want to say welcome to LumaFusion Masterclass. This is a course which will take you from beginner to professional video editor. In this course we will cover all the basics of video editing inside of LumaFusion, and we will also cover different topics, which is basic video editing, keyframes, transitions, effects, text animation, basic keyframe animation, how to shoot a cinematic sequence from start to end, how to import, audio control, color grading, organization, frame rate, project settings, upload settings, chroma key, promo video, cinematic video, professional video, challenges, and keyframe control. Some other things that we will also cover in this course is how you can make your own intro using LumaFusion only, how you can make music video effects, and how to make a promo video or promotional video to promote something of your own, or if you have a client that you need to promote something for. So in this session today, we will take a look at the basic of video editing, and also how you apply a cinematic bar if you want to apply that, or how you can apply a cinematic bar without doing anything. So let's start by going into LumaFusion, and the first thing that you will see inside of LumaFusion is this layout. Here you can see that press plus to create your first project, and you can also see on the left side here that you have photos listed on the top, and this includes all the photos and the videos that you have on your device. If you are wondering which type of iPad that I am using the iPad Pro 12.9 inch. This is the 2017 model, and it works perfectly with LumaFusion. If we go over to the top left, you have a sort of a flower, and when you tap on that, you will see photos imported, story blocks, titles, transitions, and iTunes. If you tap on iTunes, you can import all the music that you have on iTunes and use for your project. I do not recommend doing this if you have plans on uploading your video to any social media platform. The reason for that is eventually, if you want to make money on your videos on YouTube, you need to use music that is copyright free, royalty free, or you will have to contact the owner of the music to get a license for that specific song. What I usually use for my videos is epidemic sound. You have also something new, which is hook sounds, which you will see in a couple of weeks on my channel as well. But I mainly use epidemic sounds. And the reason for that is because it has a variety of different songs. It has songs without any melodies. It has songs with melodies. It has sound effects, everything you need for your project. And since I mentioned it, you can also check out any of the links in my description on my videos on YouTube to get a 30 days free trial to test out everything. So moving over to transitions, here you can see all the built-in transitions that LumaFusion offers. And by tapping on one of the transitions, you can see a preview here on the preview screen of how that transition works. So let's move over to the zoom transition. This is something that most people like using. And this works just like a zoom effect should work. But in my opinion, it's just a basic zoom. It's nothing that I would recommend using. But if you haven't had the chance to check out any of my zoom transition videos, don't worry, because we will make sure to cover that in this LumaFusion course as well. Now moving over to the source button once more, you have titles. Here you can see some of the presets that are already made. These are text boxes, which indicates a messenger's text box. You have the blue one and you have the gray one. Moving down to all the built-in titles in LumaFusion, you can see that you have some presets that LumaTouch made already. This is a quite popular one, and you have different types of text with different backgrounds. Now moving over to Storyblocks. Storyblocks is a subscription plan where you can find videos, background videos or background photos, as well as music and sound effects. So now let's move over to imported, and once we tap on imported, here you can see that I have a lot of stuff that I imported already. I think we're gonna come back to this later in a different video where I show you how you can make your own stuff and how you can import presets and how you can import things from your Drive, Dropbox and other sites in a different session. So moving back over to photos, and you can tap on all photos and videos, and here you will see everything that's listed on your iPad or iPhone. Now what I want to do is to go to back to photos and then over to albums. If you go over to albums, it will show you all the videos and the photos that you have on your iPad or iPhone, but it shows them in the folders that you created on your device. So here you can see that we have a LumaFusion Masterclass. This is the one we're going to use today to create our cinematic sequence. And now let's start with just pressing on the plus sign here, which is on the middle of the screen. So tap on that and you will have a new project pop up. Here you can tap on the name and then the cross to create your unique name for your project. So we're gonna call this course 1, and we're gonna change the frame rate to 24 and the frame aspect to widescreen cinematic standard. Once we change that, we can tap on the plus sign to create our project. Now you can see that we have our project created, and all we have to do now is to import the video files. So moving up to the top here, you can see I have some videos that I want to use. You can also see that some of them are marked with blue and some are not. Let me explain what these blue parts are. If we tap on the video clip, you can see that this section here, which is marked with an in and out point, this section is 2.53 seconds long. That's why this is blue over here, because it indicates that this clip is marked at a certain point with a certain length. So we can change that by dragging the 2 yellow points out to either side. And now you can also see on the top left here that the video clip is showing 10.77 seconds. Now let's go on and import a part of this video file to our timeline. But as you can see here, we have my finger here, and I don't want that in our timeline. The first thing I'm gonna do is to just scrub through the touch bar here, and I'm gonna find a point where I want the, actually we can go from the beginning. Here I want to find a point where I want the video to start. So I'm just going to scrub through, and I want the video to start here. Then we're going to tap on this button right here, which will mark the in point of the video. And as you can see, it marked the in point of the video. Now we can scrub through on the touch bar here, and we can find the out point. I want the video to stop here, so I will leave my marker here, and I will tap on the opposite button. This will leave that in point or out point to your video, and you have now selected a part of the video that you can take over to your timeline. So there's two ways of getting this video file over to your timeline. You can either tap on this button right here, which will automatically take your video clip down to your timeline, or you can tap hold on the previous screen, just like this, and drag it down to your timeline. Now we have the video file on our timeline. Now let's play through. You can see it goes a little bit fast and it's a little bit shaky. I also want to remove the sound of this video file, and you can do that by tapping on the detach audio button, which is right here, and the trash can. You can also go over to this button right here, tap on that one, and you can mute the audio on track 1. Now we want to slow this video file down, and you can do that by double tapping on the clip to get into edit, or you can select the clip and tap on the pencil on the bottom middle of the screen. Once we've gone into edit, you will either go automatically to speed and reverse or to frame and fit. Frame and fit is the left bottom button. Then we have speed and reverse, we have audio control, and we have color and effects. Now let's go to speed and reverse, and once we go into speed and reverse, you can see that you have an indicator on your audio bar, which indicates how slow your clip can be. And we see that this clip is shot in 120 FPS, and it's in a timeline which is 24 FPS. That means we can slow the footage down to 1/5, like there, which you also can see on the right hand side. Now we can go over to this button right here, which will take us back to the timeline. And you can see that the video file got stretched out in length. So now let's play through. And you can see that it's a lot smoother already, and we don't have that shakiness in the footage, and it looks more cinematic. You can see it's a little bit stuttery, and you can change this by going into edit one more time and change the footage up to 1/4. If we now go back, play through, you can see it's 100% smooth, and we still achieve that cinematic look to the video file, and we got rid of all the shakiness inside the footage. So inside of LumaFusion, I always recommend that you go with 1/4 instead of 1/5, even though you can change the speed all the way down to 1/5. I always recommend 1/4 because you might risk getting some stutter and some jittering in your footage if you go all the way down to 1/5 in a 24 FPS timeline. You can also see that we have the cinematic bars, which is on the top here and at the bottom. And the reason for getting these without applying anything to the footage is because we change the frame aspect to widescreen cinematic. If we go back to 16:9, you will see that the video got stretched out and we don't have the cinematic bars. If you want to create your own cinematic bars and you still want to use 16:9 aspect, we can go over to titles and we can just import a random title. It doesn't matter which one you import. Just like this. Double tap on the text layer to go into edit. You delete what's inside and you create a new shape. Once you created the new shape, you can drag out the edges just like this, and you can place it on top of your clip, and you can tap on this button right here to duplicate and drag the other one down. Now you see that you have a cinematic bar on top and on the bottom. You can now change the color to black on both shapes. And if we go back to our timeline, you can see that we now have the cinematic bars. But I don't want to use this in this session, so we're going to delete this and go back to the cinematic aspect. So now we added our first clip. We're going to go over to source, which is on the top left. Go to photos. That will take us directly into the LumaFusion Masterclass folder, and we can find a new clip to import. If we take a look at this first clip, you can see that my wife and my son is about to walk onto the bridge. So this gives me the start of the video, but now I want to take this sequence and this mood to the next video file as well. So I'm going over to the photos folder, which has all the videos, and I find a suited clip for the next part. You can already see that I have an in point and an out point, and you can, if you don't want to use these buttons right here to make the in and out point, you can tap on the yellow bar which is here, or the yellow in point, and you can just drag it. And I want this part to be the starting point, so I'm gonna stop the marker right there. I'm gonna scroll through the last part of the clip, and I'm gonna stop it right there. Then I'm gonna go over to the in point and tap on this button, and now tap hold on the previous screen and drag the footage down to the timeline. We have already muted the sound of the video file, so we don't need to detach the audio and delete the audio file. This is not necessary if you're going to maintain this track muted the entire time. It's enough by just muting the entire track. So the next thing is to slow this clip down as well. So we're going to tap on the clip and go down to the pencil. Tap on the pencil and it will take you down into the speed and reverse. Now we're going to drag this over to 1/4 once again. And we're done adjusting the speed of that clip. Now we can go back to our timeline, and you will see that it lengthened the duration of the clip as well. So if we now do a playback, you can see it goes really slow, maybe a little bit too slow. You can also see that the clip is now 10 seconds long, and this is a little bit too long for a cinematic sequence. Especially if you're going to have 10 seconds per clip, your video will be extremely long and you will lose the attention of the viewer. So we're going to scale this down to this point right here and make a cut with the scissors here. Tapping on the scissors will automatically highlight the clip to the right of the clip that you just cut, and you can tap on the trash can. If we do another playback, you can see it's only 3 seconds long, and it goes over to the next part of the video, and let's stop it right there. Highlight the clip, tap on the scissors, and then tap on the trash can. Now we have the clip that shows my wife and son going onto the bridge, and we have the clip where I'm panning up towards them. Now we want a clip that reveals what they are looking at. So this clip is the perfect clip for that situation, and you can also see that I have already marked an in and out point, but we're going to take it back to the normal. So now we can scroll through and we can find the point of the clip that we want to use. And let's say I want to use this as an in point. So we're going to mark that as an in point, and we're going to continue scrolling on the touch bar until he is looking into the camera, just there, I think, yes, and tap on the opposite button. Now we have the clip once again marked, and we have marked the specific point of the clip and the specific duration of the clip that we want to use for our timeline. So now tap hold on the previous screen once again and drag it down to our timeline. We will have to go into edit on this one as well, because we want to slow it down to get rid of those shaky edges. So this time we will double tap on the clip, and it will take us into edit and speed and reverse. Now drag this line all the way down to 1/4 once again and go back to your timeline. You can see the clip got extended quite a lot, all the way to 15 seconds. So we're going to do another playback to find the exact point where we want to change to our fourth clip. Just here is the perfect duration, and you could also see that this had some jitter in the frame as well, maybe just a little bit. What we can do is to go into edit once again and to speed and reverse, and maybe scale it up to 0.30 times. Going back to the timeline, we can do another playback and we can see if this fixed it. This fixed it, and you can see it's a lot smoother now. We have no jitter or no spikes in the video, and this is what we want for our cinematic video. Now let's find another clip that we can use for the scene and the mood of this video. We have moving onto the bridge, we have looking up at the bridge, and we have revealing what they are looking at. You can see that we have the water in the background here, and we want to make sure that our fourth video clip has some water inside of it. So this clip would probably be the best for that. So we're going to find again an in point and an out point of this video, and then drag it down to our timeline. So there we mark the in point, and here we have the out point. So once again, we tap hold on the previous screen, drag it down to our timeline. If you want to push this button right here to get it down to the timeline, make sure that your marker is not placed like this. You can now see that the marker of the timeline is placed at 9.09 seconds. If I go back to this video file and tap on the auto placement of the video file that we marked, and we want over to our timeline, this button right here will take the video clip down to the timeline, but at this point. So if I tap on this one now, it will make a cut to this video file and import the clip at this exact spot. As you can see, we don't want that. So either make sure that you have your marker all the way at the end before you tap on this button right here, or what I usually recommend is to simply tap hold and drag it down. So moving over to this clip, again, we want to slow it down. So we're going to go into speed and reverse and change it to 1/4. Do a playback and see how it looks. As you can see here, it's a little bit jittery on the left, so we want to change that speed once again. We're going to change it to 0.30 times slow and see how that looks. Looks a little bit better, so we're going to keep it like that. We can make a cut to around, let's say 4 seconds. And the next thing we want to do is to find another clip which has some water in it, and I think I have the clip which is perfect for that scene, which also creates a mood to the video, because here we again have the bridge and we have the water. We continue with the water, and this clip here has some trees, has a bench, has some water in the background. This video clip is probably the most suited for our fifth clip. So again, we're going to find an in point. I think this would probably be the best start of this video clip, and we're going to find the out point. There we have the out point, and we're going to drag this down to our timeline and go into speed and reverse and change the speed once again. And you can also see that I'm speeding up the process a little bit now, because we do the same thing over and over again. Now we have this clip at 5 seconds, and we now have bridge with water, water and ducks, water, bench, trees, and my son and my wife. So creating this cinematic sequence, you can probably see and understand what I'm going for. I have the same things coming back to each video clip that I'm applying to the timeline, and which is bridge, bridge, person, water, then we have water, then we have persons, water, and bench. The bench also has the wood parts of it, and that goes again for the bridge. Here you can see the wood, the build materials of the bridge, which comes again to the bench. Now we slow this down as well, and it looks perfectly fine. Now let's add something different. Now we have included the trees in the video as well. As you can see here, we have the trees, we have the roots, and we have some branches over here on the top left corner. I think it's about time to introduce less water and more trees, and probably let's see, maybe here. And there we have the in point. Tap hold, drag it down to our timeline. Again, into edit, speed and reverse, and down to 1/4. Looks a little bit jittery, as you can see, so we're going to change the speed again to 0.30. If we do a playback, looks a lot better already. A little bit shaky, but we can live with that in this video here. So here in this clip, you can see we have wife and son going towards the water. We introduced the trees and the roots and all that to the video as well. Moving over to the next clip, you can see that we are introducing more trees. We still have my wife walking, and my son comes in from the right bottom side here, and he's playing with his car. This introduces playing to the video. So we can now see if we can find a video file to introduce more kids play or fun time to our cinematic sequence. Here we can see there is like a play time. He's running, he's having fun. Let's see if we can find an in point there, and we can have an out point right there. Tap hold, drag down to our timeline, and go in and adjust the speed once again. Now let's take a look and see if it's perfectly clean, and yes, it is. Now we have that clip as well. I'm just going to make it a little bit shorter, and we can go back to the same clip and we can find something else inside of this footage. And you can see here, once we drag across the touch bar, there is more joy going on in this scene. So we're gonna find another in and out point, and let's see if we can find something that looks... Here we have an in point, and we can find an out point. Probably here. Just like that. We can tap hold, drag it down to our timeline. And we can make a cut here on the timeline instead. What you can do if you struggle to find a point where you want to cut, you can always go into speed and reverse first, slow it all the way down, 1/4, back to your timeline, and then once the clip is getting bigger, you can easily find a point where you want to cut the clip. So dragging through, we find the position here and we make a cut to the clip. So now we can take a look at the entire sequence, and before we add some music, to see if we're happy with the cuts that we made to the video files we imported to our timeline. And you can also see that we have the same objects and the same things coming again in each clip, which helps you create a story around your video. So now we made a sequence which is 40 seconds long. So I now think it's time to add some cinematic music to our cinematic sequence. So we're going to go up to source on the top left and then go over to imported. Here is all the imported music files that I downloaded from Epidemic Sound. So we're going to tap on Epidemic Sound and we're going to find a suited music file. You can also tap on the different audio files that you imported to LumaFusion, and you can tap on play to hear the exact song. This is actually a quite good song for this this cinematic sequence, so we're going to use that song instead of browsing through looking for different songs. So let's play through and see what it looks like with the music applied. Probably not the best song after all. Maybe if we start it a little bit later. So I want the music to start from this point. So what we can do is to just select the audio file, take our marker and drag it to the point where we want the music to start, and make a cut with the scissors. Then highlight the part of the audio file that you want to delete. Make sure to tap on the link button to unlink it. As you can see here, we have a line going from the video clip down to the audio clip, and once we tap on the link button, it disappears. So when it disappears, that means the audio is not linked to that video file, and it allows us to delete the audio file without deleting the video file, which is linked to the audio file. Once that is deleted, you can tap hold on your audio file and drag it to the beginning of your sequence. So there we have music applied to the cinematic sequence as well. And we want the music to stop here, so we're going to highlight the audio file again, tap on the scissors, and then you can see the audio file to the right is highlighted, so we can tap on the trash can. We want to ease this out a little bit so it doesn't end like this. We want it to have a curve to it, so it slowly gets the volume lowered until the song is finished. So what we can do here is to cheat a little bit with the audio control. We can go over to transitions inside LumaFusion. So source, top left, then transitions, and we can use cross dissolve. Tap hold on cross dissolve and drag it down to your audio file. Release at the end of your audio file. Pinch in with 2 fingers to zoom in, and you can now tap hold on the cross dissolve and drag it to extend it. You can extend it as long as you want, but you really have to find a point where you're satisfied with the amount of cross dissolve added to your audio file. So now we added cross dissolve to this one. Let's do a playback and see how it sounds. That sounds a lot better. So what we can do now is to apply another cross dissolve and drag it over to our video file. pinch in and then drag to extend. And if we now take a look at the last clip, you can see it kind of ends with the music as well. We can go over to the beginning of the sequence and we can add across dissolve to the video file and across dissolve to the audio file. Pinch to zoom in. Increase the length of cross dissolve. And now let's do a playback and see what the beginning looks like. Maybe a little bit too fast, so we're going to extend them a little bit longer. Like this. And now let's do a playback. Maybe even a little bit too fast. Let's extend it just like that. Now let's do a playback of one more time. That looks a lot better right away. So we're gonna leave it like that. We now have the music file. We have the clips that we want to use, and we have the audio file as well. Music, clips, cinematic bar. Now we basically have everything for the cinematic sequence. But what we can do now as a final touch to this first LumaFusion session is to go into edit on the first clip that we have. Go to color and effects and then go to the color preset and choose original. Here we can adjust and color grade the footage that we have in LumaFusion. And what I want to do is to take the levels, the left side, the black spot of the levels, and drag it to the right. As you can see, this creates that cinematic film look to your video, and it kind of fades the dark spots a little bit. So we're gonna leave it like that. The next thing I want to do is to actually change the saturation and vibrance. I want to increase the saturation and I want to decrease the vibrance just to around 141-ish and decrease the vibrance. Once we've done that, we can change some highlight and shadow radius to around 3. Change the shadow amount to, I would say maybe around -50. This also depends on the footage that you have on your timeline. These settings right here might not be the perfect for your video, but we're gonna come back to that in a different session in this LumaFusion course as well. But I think we're done with this color grading to this clip now. So I think it looks saturated but desaturated in a cinematic way. We could add some tint to it, maybe some maybe just play around, make it a little bit warmer. So yeah, now let's say we're done with the color grading. What we can do now is have that clip marked, and you go over to this button right here. This is the attributes clipboard button, and what you do with this is you have the clip selected, you tap on this one and you copy. Now you copied all the settings added to this clip, and that means the color grading that we just applied to this clip is now copied. Moving over to the next part, the next clip, we can highlight that clip, we can tap on the same button and tap paste. You see that this color grading got applied to that clip right away, and you can now see that we have a more cinematic and desaturated look to this video. There we go. And once you apply the color grading to all your clips and you created some color grading to your footage which you really enjoyed and you want to use at a different time, what you can do is to double tap on the clip and you get into color and effects. Here we have the original color preset that we just applied to our footage. What you can do now is to save this as a preset. Then you have this star with a plus inside of it and you tap on that. And let's call this one, I'm just gonna use these right here just to get it at the beginning of on top of my preset line. So LumaFusion course, and we're going to tap on the star with the plus inside of it, and that will automatically save this preset. So if we go over to our star, which is here on the top right corner, and if we tap on that one, you can see that we have the color grading applied here. LumaFusion course, once we tap on that, it will automatically add that to our video. So now we deleted it, and if we tap on that, you can see that we apply the color grading to the footage. And once we're done with the entire cinematic sequence, we want to save it to our Photos app. So with that said, that wraps up the video and the first session in LumaFusion Masterclass from a beginner to professional video editor. I really hope that you learned something from this video, and if you didn't learn anything from this video, if you knew everything already, don't you worry. We will be taking the next video a step further, and we have a lot more sessions to go through as well to make sure that you learn everything that there is to learn in LumaFusion 2.0. And this session and this course will also continue as there comes new updates to LumaFusion 2.1, 2.2 and so on. So we will maintain this course, and it's also a better way, an easier way for me to interact with you, because since you are a Patreon subscriber to this course, you will have priority number one. I have also created a post on Patreon. On this post you can ask any questions that you have for me regarding LumaFusion, regarding basically anything that you want to ask me. You can ask all those questions there. You can discuss with the rest of the Patreons on this course as well, because this thread is only locked to the Patreons for the LumaFusion Masterclass. And if there's anything that you would like to see in this LumaFusion Masterclass, don't hesitate to either email me, you can post it on Patreon, Instagram DM, but make sure that you leave your email address if you're gonna post it on Instagram. And again, thank you so much for joining in on today's sessions. I will see you guys in the next LumaFusion session as well. And until then, make sure to create some awesome things using LumaFusion 2.0.